We understand what is hydraulics. Now we have seen applications. Now, what is basic hydraulics we need to know before we go to industrial hydraulics? See, there's no much difference between industrial and basic. So basic hydraulics, we know what is a definition, what is the law and all. When we go a little bit into industrial hydraulics, we have to start designing a circuit. Now, before starting designing a circuit, you need to know the components and valves involved. Now, like I said, like your mom makes a good dish for you. So she needs to have the ingredients available in the kitchen. Then only she can make that. Now, I need to design a hydraulic circuit in my company. Why? I don't want to manufacture the automobile. I want the robotic arms to do. That is why we say automation technology has increased very widely. It will save our time. So you need to have a computer to do the coding. You have a computer, you did the coding. But that is not enough. You need to have separate components which are involved in operating these robotic arms to fix and assemble the automobile. So like that, for designing a circuit also, you need these components. So that is very, very important. Now next, energy can neither be generated nor destroyed. Now you're all aware of this energy principle. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to another form. So I am giving my knowledge to you in every Saturday. So now no one can remove the knowledge from you and from me. Maximum you can transform the knowledge. So energy also. Now suppose I have, like you were sitting from morning to evening classes. Oh, what happens is at the end you won't fall down. Your energy levels will be gradually decreased. After that, you can boost up your energy by having a tea or a coffee, and you can relax with the music. So like that, when these machines are working around the clock, you won't feel there will be a machine collapse or something. So when there will be this, how this machines work, some transformation of energy should happen between or within this actuation of machine. When I say hydraulics, you have designed a circuit. The arm is coming, it is picking up something. Some energy should be there even for a machine also. It's not only for humans. So what is that energy? You fill the hydraulic rig with the oil, or in marine you fill with water. So that, like how the food which we are taking now, before the class you take your breakfast, that will be transformed, like slowly the energy comes down for you and for me. Now the oil will be there. Once it starts working, the oil won't come out or the machine won't collapse. Slowly the energy levels, it might come down. So what you do, what is the signal that a machine gives? It will stop working suddenly, or maximum it will get heated up or something like that. So you restart it, like how we refresh ourselves. So whenever a machine is working, the basic universal principle here, energy can neither be generated nor destroyed. It can only be transformed to one form to another form. So when the oil is a foot for your hydraulics rig, when the machine is doing some work, definitely simultaneously energy transformation is happening there only. So that is your energy principle. So now here you need to know these basics, fundamentals, before we go into into deeper aspects of this hydraulics. After the energy, now we say hydraulics is one of the drives which is selected based on its salient features wherever is found suitable or more efficient. Right. Now I've told you at the starting of beginning of the class, hydraulics and pneumatics are more or less similar in terms of technology, components, designing the circuits. Applications also are more or less. Maximum differences we come across in aspects of limitations, merits and demerits, advantages and disadvantages. So now here it is one of the efficient drives which is selected based on its suitability and its efficiency. Now we know we are using oil in hydraulics, we use air in pneumatics. Now for every application, I can't take both. Wherever this hydraulics is suitable, wherever this is efficient, depending on its features, your project feature or your maybe application feature, you select hydraulics. For lifting heavy objects, if I take pneumatics, it is not right. Lifting heavy objects, the air-filled pneumatic cylinder will not be able to do it. The oil-filled hydraulics arm will be able to lift the heavy object and place it. So based on that, you select either hydraulics or pneumatics. So wherever it fits, the suitability. Next, we have two motions. We already know linear motion and rotatory motion. Let me check if anyone is joined. Yeah. Linear motion, rotatory motion. Now, beginning before slides also, I've shown you linear assembly technology also. Bosch's product is there. So now, any machine or any motion, whichever the object is moving, it will either move in a straight line or a 360 degrees, it will rotate. That is the two motions which are available. Next. Now, the law behind hydraulics is, okay, the principle is energy law. But there is a subject called fluid mechanics. I hope you're all aware of fluid mechanics. Anyway, even if you're not aware also, let's not go into deeper. But the concerned subject for this hydraulics and pneumatics is fluid mechanics. Why fluid mechanics? Now in hydro and pneuma, we use fluid. Air is also a fluid, oil is also a fluid. So fluid mechanics is a subject which deals with the motion of fluid in static position or a dynamic position. So whenever the fluid is in rest position or the fluid is in movable position, you try to study. That is your fluid mechanics subject. So you have in that different types of fluids. Maybe you have properties of fluids, laminar flows. So you have a wider knowledge on fluid mechanics. But let's not worry, even if we forgot or if we don't know also, whatever is required for the training, definitely I will be giving you aspects of fluid mechanics. So what you have to focus on that. Hydrostatics, hydrodynamics is a branch in fluid mechanics as well as in hydraulics. These all are interlinked. Fluid mechanics is interlinked, hydraulics is interlinked, and hydrostatics and hydrodynamics. I told you, the fluid mechanics entirely deals with the motion behavior of your fluid. Hydrostatics means we will know the behavior of the hydro, water or oil, when it is in static condition. Dynamics means when it is in motion condition, you will know the behavior. That's it. Now let's come to total energy. Now total energy is nothing but potential energy and static pressure energy and kinetic energy. So you know what is potential energy, you know what is kinetic energy. Again, you need not go for definitions and formulas. So the entire total energy, definitely, obviously, what do we have? We have PE, E, and SPE. So we all club this and we call as a total energy in the fluid. Why? I'll tell you. Now you're operating in the company or in the lab, you're doing some circuits. So now I ask you, how much, what is the energy in the fluid? I'll ask you to calculate. Before you start the rig, the fluid is in a static condition. So you will note down. That's why we call hydrostatics. Hydrostatics entirely deals with the motion of fluid in a rest position. So you note down the calculation, or you note down some parameter when the fluid is in static condition, and you will have the value. Next, when you start the rig, the oil starts flowing from the tank to the cylinder. So there is a dynamics, right? Hydrodynamics. So the fluid is moving. When the fluid is moving, the property is different. When the fluid is at rest, the property is different. Now, when we are sleeping, our body is completely at rest. So our mind will be in dreams, different. Now, when you wake up from a dream, reality is different. Immediately, everyone will forget our dream. We'll only remember the gist of it. So the behavior of our body and brain when it is at rest is different compared to the behavior of our body when we are active throughout the day. We might be eating, sleeping, attending classes, playing, dancing, and all. That is totally different. Again, you don't remember what all you have done today when you go back to sleep. So both are different again. So like that, and again when this rig has been started, so you will note down the energy parameter which is affecting the fluid. So whatever the fluid is flowing from the tank to the cylinder, you will note down the parameter. And kinetic energy, that's what I mean to say, it's in motion. Potential, its capability. So all these energies sum up to total energy. So this and all you might not need not do in training, but when you go to some industry, when you're working as engineers, for each specification or for each application, definitely these are some of the aspects you need to remember. So they work like this. So when they have the calculations, if something goes wrong, okay, this was the energy. You can add or remove the fuel or whatever it is, it will change. But right now we are not bothered about the calculations. But for understanding, I told you this point. Total energy is equal to potential energy plus kinetic energy plus static pressure energy. Now, next is there is no pure hydrostatic or hydrodynamic available. That is obvious. Now, all are man-made machines. Now, the system, energy and all are not man-made. They are already available in nature, universal. But when I take a system of hydrostatic and a hydrodynamic, when I take one machine where the fluid is at rest, and when I take one more system where the fluid is in motion, so I cannot draw a perfect parameter that this has to not cross that line, because this rest condition and behavior condition is not in our hands. It is again in nature, universal. So you cannot expect a perfect system, but you can enhance the system wherever there is a problem or maybe which is affecting the behavior of your rig. You can try to figure out a solution. So that is what he meant to say. So overall, major part of the energy is considered to decide a type of a hydraulic system. So why this energy is coming into this picture means to design a hydraulic system, energy plays a very important role. Now in the lab in our campus already the facility is there. Before the facility has come up, Wash has designed this type of rig has to be there for students. This type of rig has to be there for manufacturing sector. Means for student means we are only undergoing a training. We are not doing any production activities in campus. So now when we are undergoing a training, you just need to understand how to use the components and design the circuits and operate the rig so that the cylinder will move. That's it. Now, what is the pressure required? What is the energy required only? We need to know. That is why here he mentioned, however, major part of the energy is considered to decide the type of a hydraulic system. That means for a training kit, even if you're doing in the lab after college opens, I will instruct you guys not to regulate the pressure above 35 bar. Now, initially when you start, it has to be within 35 bar because more than 35 bar, it cannot take. You will have a lot, I mean to say, there will be a lock, a frictional lock, and the hoses won't come quickly, and this lot of heating up happens, leakage will happen. So there are many factors. So 35 bar is its capacity. That is why based on the energy only, you will be designing the hydraulic system. Now, based on your 2 months semester or 3 months semester, I'll design a syllabus. If you are coming for 1 year, I'll design one more syllabus. Now, for this semester, we'll be dealing with hydraulics and pneumatics and little bit of a circuit training. Next, PLC. Next, like that. So, like that, based on for what is it I'm designing the system, I take the energy into consideration. Now, I'll tell I have to give one kit to DSU. DSU means okay, students have to get trained. Students have to get trained means this is the only much pressure of that energy it can consume. We will design that hydraulic system. When you go to automobile industry, pressure will be different. It cannot be 35 bar. It has to be some obviously more. So with that again, it will not work. Like that, hydraulic system to design, first of all, you need to know the energy. To take training for you, first I need to know the subject, then I need to know the syllabus. Syllabus I have to design for 6 months, then only I can train. Like that, energy is very, very important to design the hydraulic system. Next. Now, yes, hydro, in hydraulics, hydra word is a Greek word which means water or a fluid. I mean to say, you can use water, you can use oil, but you can't use anything as you wish. If you come to industrial hydraulics, we have to use oil only. So water, you might have known in fluid mechanics, if you had a lab, or if you're not aware of it, I think you are aware of it. If not also, I'll anyway revise fluid mechanics lab offline when college opens. That is not primary for our training, just for understanding. So what do? You calculate the coefficient of discharge through venturimeter and orifice meter. So you use water in that. So I need to calculate the parameters affecting the flow of water. So that time in that particular experiment or in that particular equipment, I use water. But in industrial hydraulics and the training hydraulics, which we have in the lab, it is completely industrial based. So definitely we have to use oil because oil is more viscous than water. Now hydraulics is used for heavy job operations, maybe fixing a car, automobile, fixing your aeroplane, assembling of aeroplanes and anything. Definitely I need a high viscous oil, then only it can be used for heavier job operations. So that is what hydraulics is. So more or less in one line, I can tell you, it is a study of fluid, behavior of fluid at rest or motion, where transmission and control of forces and movements are being studied. That means now, generally we think it is only to study the motion of the fluid, motion of the oil at motion, in motion or at rest. It is not only for that. The down line, if you can see where I'm placing my cursor, 1 second. Yeah. So whenever there is transmission and control of forces. Now, arm is coming, a robotic arm is coming, or a JCB crane is coming to pick up and place the object or heavy job or whatever it is. So there is some force transmission. Without force transmission, how can it be possible? Now, if I don't speak, you can't hear my voice. Or even if I'm speaking, if there's a technical problem, you cannot hear the voice. So when I'm speaking, there's an energy conversion. Maybe I might be losing energy, but through that thing only you will be able to hear. So whenever a crane is moving or any hydraulic cylinder is doing its operation, definitely there are some forces transmitted and controlled. If there is no control of the forces, directly it will go and it will hit some other rod. It won't go and pick up. So controlled way, it will go exactly where you place the object, it will go and it will pick up. That accuracy is nothing but transmission and control of forces and movements. Now forces is during the movement of the picking up and place, there are some forces acting. Energy is being transformed, forces are acting. Now see, I am trying to speak loudly so that you all will understand. Some force I am investing in that. Now you will also speak, you will also invest some force. Now when there is a movement, I mean to say when you're operating some your cylinder, your robotic arm while picking up and placing. This example I'm giving you so that you'll understand it for all the applications. So some force is involved. Energy, simultaneously it will be transformed to one form to another form. That force is involved to pick up and place. Pick up and place is a movement. So this force and the movement both are transmitted and controlled. That is nothing but hydraulics by means of oil. So directly, blindly, if you remember a crane operating, that is the only definition for hydraulics. So wherever forces transmission and control of forces and movements happen by means of a fluid, which is nothing but that machine is called as hydraulics machine. Now, yeah. Now, why do I need hydraulics? So you know what is hydraulics? Fine. I understood that force transmission, control of movements by means of so and so. I know what is hydraulics. Why do we need hydraulics, first of all? Can anyone unmute and tell me why do we need hydraulics?
We need hydraulics for mechanical actions or for some mechanical jobs.
Mechanical jobs, correct, in terms of lifting heavy objects also. So first line itself is like high forces, torques within a small space. So space is not a big consideration here. It can be a small or a huge or whatever it is, but there is a heavy object. So you can see JCB crane everywhere. It is used for heavy application. So there's a heavy object. Definitely our energy is not sufficient. So definitely I need some other machine which is capable to lift these heavy operation. And I mean, when it is lifting this heavy object or it is used for heavy job operations, high forces and torques are involved. Obviously, now if I speak with a low voice, you can't hear. If I increase my decibels only, you can hear. Like that, when I say a heavy object, a heavy machine, definitely that machine has to be able to produce under high force torques condition. Automatic load matching. You can take a crane example. Now you have to, the crane has to pick up the garbage and it should not throw it in next neighborhood house. It has to throw it in a dump yard. So that load matching has to be very perfect. Suppose by mistake, if it throws in the neighborhood, what, he'll come and he'll hit you. Why are you throwing your house garbage in my house? So not only that, every application in industry also, automobile manufacturing, you take the seat frame, the door is fixed properly. Now, if there is no load, I mean, when that door is not able to fix it, hydraulics failed. Or when the arm is lifting the door, till it reaches the automobile, it will fall down. So from the pickup till the placing, everything has to happen. So you need to have a automatic load match. That is one example I told you. There are hundreds of examples in automatic load matching. The simple language you can understand is it has to carry that load. When I'm saying 1,000 ton, infinite tons it can carry means it has to be capable to carry that load. It has to match automatically like that. Next, start of movement under full load. Yes. Now let's say now students are, now you only tell, right? There's so many memes that we study 8 subjects in one semester and no engineering student, what do you say? I mean, of course, when I was a student also, we used to tell like that. One night study, one day before, one night before exam, we can study and we can write and we can pass. Engineers are for reason like that. You have some slogans, right? Now, like that, hydraulics also. When I say hydraulics is so great, it can operate heavy load operations at under high forces and all. It is also capable to start its movement under full load. Now, heavy load operations, it has to able to lift heavy load, you're telling. 1,000 ton it will go, it will fix its gripper near the object. It has to hold it. Just because it is holding doesn't finish the your task. It has to lift that 1,000 ton. It has to move till your desired location. Now you are shifting your house. 1,000 ton box is there. It has to lift that 1,000 ton box from a truck. It has to place it on the ground. So that picking and dropping is there, right? That start of movement under full load example. That means when that hydraulic gripper is trying to hold that object in the truck 1,000 ton, it should be capable to start its movement under full load. What is full load? 1,000 ton it is holding. Full load is also 1,000 ton. Now it cannot say I can only operate to 90 ton or 10 ton or something like that. Under full load, it has to operate. The 1,000 ton, it has to be able to lift and place it. So it needs to, I just gave you an example of engineering students means we are all capable to read one day before exam and we can score marks. So we are able to, our brain is functioning under heavy pressure like that. Even hydraulics also, under full load conditions also, it is capable to start its movement, pick and place. That is very important. Next, simple stepless control, open or closed loop. So open or closed loop means, now let's not go into electronics or something like that. So he has given one example, speed, torque or force. So now 3 might be very similar. So when you're measuring your speed, like now with how much force the cylinder is coming, what is the speed you calculate, maybe in an open loop or a closed loop. That means open loop and a closed loop means, let me say a closed loop. Now from A, it has to go to B. From B, it has to come back to A. Take a crane only an example. Now these hydraulics are not designed as a straight rod cylinder. I mean, they're not like they're straight rod cylinders, so they'll operate only in linear motion. They can also operate in rotatory motion. You might have seen crane, it will be rotating around 360 degrees to pick up the garbage like that. Open loop means from A to B, B to A, it will take. But if I take only an open condition, every time it is not, in every application, it won't be open loop. You will have a closed loop. Closed loop means A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E to F, like a square, circle, triangle, different shapes you will have. You can, I mean, circular motion, closed loop. So within the closed loop, within that open loop also, hydraulics is designed and capable to operate. Stepless control. Stepless means what? A to B, B to C. So it won't stop like that. If you design from that to that, it will. But it can even operate stepless. Stepless means it can go round. Now, if you take straight line, you have step. If you take a circle, you won't have step. Directly a round circle. So it can operate in that way. That is what he meant to say in this point. So in any direction, in any motion, in any ways, this hydraulics is capable to operate. Then only this much operations and applications we are using with a single hydraulics technology. Simple overload protection. Simple overload protection. Now, let's take a lift as an example. You have lifts in buildings. 1000 kg, maximum 13 people, they will tell. So still that is more, but still the lift is able to lift those that much weight of people from ground floor to top floor to ground floor. Beyond that, definitely the lift cannot operate. But in hydraulics, from a truck, you're, trying to take the help of a hydraulic arm or a crane to take out the luggage. So some 1000-ton already it is able to fit. So some small boxes are there. So why to again one more motion for small boxes? On that only you kept some more boxes. So what happens is beyond 1000 newtons or 2000 newtons also still it is overloaded, right? Little bit. It can be in grams or whatever it is. Sometimes in kgs and tons also. So beyond that also, it can able to lift more boxes in a single time. So 1000-ton one box, 1000-ton one more box. It's overloaded. But it has a protective actuation that it will be able to lift under such circumstances also, provided your design of your arm, hydraulic arm, the structure of your arm should be very capable enough. That strength has to be more. Then only it will be able to lift. So, but it is designed in such a way that it will be able to control under or move under overload. So simple overload protection also is there in hydraulics. That means like some situations where we need to take its help to operate under heavy load conditions, like overload condition, but it is protected. It won't damage, the arm won't break immediately, but it will be there. Next, suitable for rapid control movement, extremely slow movements. Yes. Now, just because it is for heavy job operations, heavy load conditions, doesn't mean it will be going in a faster movement. Rapid movements, it will go. Slow movements also, it will go. So force can be minimum, maximum, medium. Anyway, this will operate. That is not a problem. Energy storage by means of inert gases. That is obvious in both pneumatics and hydraulics. Next, simple central power system possible with distributed of power usage. So now when you are designing a hydraulic system in your company, or not a company, you're doing some project, anything, a company or a project. So in that system, you will have a separate design slot for power generation. So now this also operates in terms of electricity, right? Current. Generally, without current, hydraulics is different. That is normal science projects. But now when you want to design a proper hydraulic system for an automobile, you want to do in our campus only. So you design in such a way that somewhere near in the automobile, in the down part, wherever it is, you create a power generation system also. Now even in companies also, when there is hydraulic system, in a company, not general electricity will be there. But in a hydraulic machine in a company, there is a separate slot for this power generation. So that company's power, obviously it has to be generated to your system, hydraulic system, then only that will manufacture cars or whatever it will do. So now we are staying in apartment. We have a main fuse in hall, but overall building needs to have a main server, right? Like that. So this is also having a compatible central power system, which is obviously possible. Actually, it is designed like that, where the power is distributed equally. If the power is not distributed equally, how can the machine operate in a company? How can, now if you see any YouTube video wherever you see this, you can zoom and see some movies also, some nice movies, automation movies. I'll try to give names. I don't remember. You see these arms and cranes operating automobile. So wherever you see, definitely there's a compatible power unit storage over there, where the power is generated entire the 20-30 line robots. So commonly it will go and that hydraulics actuation will be done. So these are the factors or essential features for what and why we need hydraulics.